This is supposed to be the incredibly secret archive of Cardinal Coubertin that we've been looking for.
We must be on the right track. We're going to find this archive. We simply must not fail.
Hello? Are you listening to me?
Yes, of course.
Well, we're not gonna find much here, are we?
I am sure this is the right spot. It has got to be.
You can see that there's nothing left here but a couple of foundation walls, right?
Yes, but this place corresponds to the description. Therefore, it must.
So what do we do now?
If I only knew. Maybe we can find some old blueprints or historical documents which might give us a clue.
Old blueprints? For ancient ruins?
Have you got a better idea?
No, I guess not.
At least we must try it. There's no alternative, is there? Are you coming?
Thanks, but I'd rather stay here and take another look around. I don't know what I'm looking for, but it's better than helplessly staring over your shoulder while you study Latin texts.
Yes, you're probably right. I don't see for the life of me what we could possibly have overlooked here. But better be on the safe side.
Shall we meet here then?
All right. Wish me luck. We need it more than ever.
I do. I wish you all the luck in the world.
Thanks. And the same to you. Maybe you'll actually find something. Who knows? See you later.
All right. I will have a closer look at these ruins then. This altar was made from a single massive slab of stone. That's why it remained more or less unscathed throughout the centuries. There isn't much left of the old chapel. One of the most famous landmarks in the world. A reminder that some lucky people actually visit places just for fun. No, really. I don't know my way around Paris, and before I stumble around the city aimlessly, I had better check out this area here a little more thoroughly. They call this model the duck. Quack. A compost heap. I'm surrounded by 3 million graves or so. I would need at least a little hint as to what it is I am looking for. There's a light blue stone stuck in the wall. How odd. It appears to be different from all the others. This stone is loose. Just a little yank. Ah! My mother always used to say, "Don't go playing in ramshackle buildings, dear." Oh, she was so right. Just what is this place? The stone is light blue, and it shows the image of a white king. This probably used to be the entrance. Crashing through the ceiling wasn't necessary back then. By the time I free up that passage, I will be old and gray. There's a cold draft coming from that crack. I wonder what's behind it. I can't even get my fingers in there, and I can't really imagine being able to open a massive stone door with my hands. It says Institio Finis Viae Est. If I remember my school Latin right, it probably means something like standing still is the end of the path. Ah, some of the letters can be turned. I don't have the faintest idea what I would achieve by turning these letters, so fiddling with them doesn't appear to make much sense at this point. Some of the letters can be turned. This is the way back up to the ruins. So how will I get out of here? Wait a moment. I have a plan that has proven its worth for thousands of years. It's sophisticated and elaborate, the perfect rescue scheme. Let's see whether it works here.
Help! Help! Get me out of here! Help!
Anybody there? Hello?
I'm here! Down here! Help me!
How on earth did you get down there?
The floor just gave way beneath me. If you don't mind, I'd really like to continue this conversation above ground. Do you think you could get me out of here somehow?
Wait, I've got an idea.
Thank you so much. You probably saved my life.
It was my pleasure. Anytime.
I'm interested in this old chapel. I wanted to take a closer look, but obviously there isn't much left of it.
No, it was largely destroyed during an air raid in World War II. But maybe I can help you?
You?
Yes, me. With nothing to do all day, you have to keep yourself occupied somehow. And I occupy myself with history.
Excellent. Then maybe you can tell me something about Cardinal Coubertin. He had this chapel built, didn't he?
Yes, he did. But there isn't a whole lot we know about him. All the records kept while he was in office are stored in his archives.
And where are they?
Who knows? They searched high and low after his death, but they haven't been found to this day. Nobody even remembers where he was buried. All I know is that he had a curator who took care of his legacy following his death in 1663. The curator died 10 years later. They found his body in his squalid basement dwelling after he had been dead for a week. He should be buried in this cemetery as well, but I have no idea as to where exactly. I don't even really know his name. I think it was Michel or something like that.
Well, at least it's a start. Not much to go on, but better than nothing. Are there no further clues?
Not really. He was barely known around here. Cardinal Coubertin brought him back from one of his journeys. He wasn't a local man. Also, he hardly ever went out, and when he did, he was heavily covered up, which soon led to wild speculation amongst the locals. He served the cardinal for almost 40 years.
Okay. I'll take another look around here. Thanks again for the rescue and the brief history lesson.
It was my pleasure. I'll be here for a while yet, so if you have any more questions...
This chapel has me stumped. I need some additional hints. Maybe I should try to find the curator's grave first. I'm just going to take a look around.
You do that.
I will go look for the grave of Michel the curator then. It isn't much of a lead, but since he seems to have been rather close to Cardinal Coubertin, maybe there's some hope of finding something out that way. The path splits in 3 directions here. Graves from the 1650s, graves from the 1660s, and graves from the 1670s. Let's try this way. The graves here appear to be sorted by wealth. Poor on one side, rich on the other. Where do I go? Let's see what I find down this path. Oh my, they certainly have this thoroughly organized. They separated people who died young from those who passed away at a ripe old age. Let's go this way now. Yet another sorting criterion, but this appears to be the last. This time they distinguished between women, men, and families. Bureaucracy is obviously not a very recent invention. Now where does this path lead? There is no grave here of anyone named Michel, or of anybody whose name is even remotely similar. I should recheck my information regarding this curator. Maybe I overlooked something important. He's filthy and in rags, but he seems to be nice enough. There's something vaguely familiar about him. Hello. There's something else I think you might be able to help me with.
No problem. What is it?
What you said about the Cardinal's curator?
Yes?
Could you please repeat it for me?
Of course.
Please don't leave anything out. Any information you can give me about the Cardinal and his environment might help.
All I know is that the curator took care of his legacy following his death in 1663. The curator died 10 years later. They found his body in his squalid basement dwelling after he had been dead for a week. He should be buried in this cemetery as well, but I have no idea as to where exactly. His name was Michel or something like that. Not really. He was barely known around here. Cardinal Coubertin brought him back from one of his journeys. He wasn't a local man. Also, he hardly ever went out, and when he did, he was heavily covered up, which soon led to wild speculation amongst the locals. He served the Cardinal for almost 40 years.
Great. Thank you.
My pleasure.
I'm just going to take a look around.
You do that.
I will go look for the grave of Michel the curator then. It isn't much of a lead, but since he seems to have been rather close to Cardinal Coubertin, maybe there's some hope of finding something out that way. The path splits in 3 directions here. Graves from the 1650s, graves from the 1660s, and graves from the 1670s. Let's try this way. The graves here appear to be sorted by wealth. Poor on one side, rich on the other. Where do I go? Let's see what I find down this path. Oh my, they certainly have this thoroughly organized. They separated people who died young from those who passed away at a ripe old age. Let's go this way now. Yet another sorting criterion, but this appears to be the last. This time they distinguished between women, men, and families. Bureaucracy is obviously not a very recent invention. Now where does this path lead? Is this the right area? The Cardinal's curator would hardly have been a woman, or maybe... who knows? Michelle, the curator, was actually a woman. No wonder she hardly ever went out in public, and was always so heavily covered up. If that had become known, I assume that when she was buried, this scandalous fact was discovered and hushed up. This is probably why her grave has been forgotten. I hope I can find a clue here and finally make some progress. If you should remember anything interesting regarding the archives or the curator...
Then I will let you know. Don't worry.
Thanks. That's where I fell through the ground into the basement. If the homeless man hadn't heard me yelling for help... It's halfway stable where it is, and I don't want that to change. After all, I do not intend to spend the rest of my life down here. Did it! I am truly a genius. But as usual, there is nobody around who could really appreciate that. There appears to be another room built into the rock by the far side of the abyss. Thanks to my famously positive attitude, I live in hopes that it is the archive we are looking for. I cannot get over there. But looking at all these safety precautions, I think I have good reason to hope that the archive is behind that wall. Seems to be an old map of what is France these days. There's a legend on the panel next to it. The king was in dire straits. He had withdrawn to Provence, and the options he had left did not bode well. The peasants were rising to the north, and the reinforcements from the Kingdom of Navarre, who had just crossed the border, were forced to go up against a massive fortress to the east. Meanwhile, his opponent sat back and eagerly watched the spectacle unfold from his country estate in Brittany. There are obviously still some stones missing from the mosaic. I don't even need to start figuring out the correct positions until I have them all. It fits! It almost looks like the stone came from this mosaic in the first place. I wonder whether there are any stones that fit in the remaining empty fields. Hello. There's something else I think you might be able to help me with.
No problem. What is it?
I found a mosaic in there, but a few of the stones are missing. I found a light blue stone up here in the altar chamber that matches the mosaic perfectly. I suspect there might be more stones like it. Maybe the same strange shade of blue. Do you have any idea where I might find stones like this?
No, not really.
Well, I guess that would have been too easy.
Stop. Wait. I just thought of something. Many buildings around here were destroyed during World War II air raids.
Yes?
All stones from the derelict buildings that were still halfway usable were used for rebuilding, including those from this church.
Rebuilding what?
Well, first, there is a little bridge not far from here. Then, the old metro station. And the jail, I think.
Great. In that case...
Oh, yes, and the zoo.
That's a lot of buildings. Any idea where I should look first?
They were all built pretty much at the same time. But at least you needn't try the zoo right now, because it is still closed.
Okay, I'll save it for later then. Can you tell me how to get to these places?
I've got this tourist info map that I can give you. Wait, let me mark the relevant sites for you.
I'll go hunting for the missing blue stones then. I think I'll start with the bridge. It's supposed to be close to here.